Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of What's Your Mess? Mental, Emotional, Social Status of Life. I am your host, Tracey D. Armstrong, and we're here again for another amazing episode with another amazing guest. I am going to get out of the way and let her introduce herself.
Thank you, Tracey, for having me. Welcome. I'm Erin Harris. I'm the founder and executive director of Undo Mindset. And we teach all about the brain and how it functions and how to best utilize it and how to navigate your thoughts and emotions.
Oh wow, that's gonna be perfect because that's one of the main things a lot of people don't realize. They need to learn how to navigate their thoughts and emotions. And right now, that's what you're doing. But I know you haven't always been doing that, right?
That's
So
correct.
let's tell the audience a little bit about your story and your mess.
Yeah, absolutely. So I spent 15 years in the classroom. I taught between the DC metro area and the Denver metro area. I've taught at 9 different schools. And I ended up my educational career actually in a school shooting. It was gang related. One student was shot, no fatalities. But, sitting in the corner with a bunch of middle schoolers, not really knowing what is our truth. We were getting different notifications from different apps like multiple kids dead. And we really had no idea what was happening. It was super traumatic for me. It was really hard to kind of re-enter the classroom and know how to create the space that I wanted to create. So, and it was right before the pandemic. So that in conjunction with being forced to be a stay-at-home mom, I lost my ever-loving mind, checked myself into a mental health facility twice, and just learned really amazing skills and tools, things that I really wish somebody had taught me 20 years ago. The last 20 years would have been a lot less chaotic and drama filled. But that process really spoke to me about how reactive our mental health structures are in our country. I had to be an adult, I had to be in crisis, I had to have insurance, and I had to have $1,600 cash, which that's not the reality of most people on our planet. So I really, I wanted to make sure that we are rewriting that narrative. Mental health is absolutely a privilege in our country, and it shouldn't be. It is a basic human right to be able to have access to these skills and tools. And so our mission is really, we're not recreating the wheel, but it's just to bring this material to the right demographic. Our goal as a nonprofit is to get it out to our K-12s free of charge. And it's a computer-based curriculum. And our for-profit goal is to really basically bring all of these proactive skills to just about anybody else on the planet. We want to make sure that we're accessible to transient folks, substance abuse. We have partnerships. We're creating initiatives for pre and postpartum moms and dads. We want to help cancer patients. We want to be a tool for corporate offices, to doctors' offices, to anybody who has a brain. We want to make sure that we're, giving them access to these skills and tools.
Wow, that is amazing. The goal that you have, as far as especially reaching all of the wide variety that's out there. And for those out there that do not know, like that is what I teach also, and that is a passion of mine. The mental health, like you said, it's privilege out there now, but it shouldn't be a privilege, it should be a
Mhm.
necessity. It is a necessity. And I want to go back because you really unpacked a lot right there. You said some stuff, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I don't need, and I'm like, wait a minute, I need to go back, but where do I? So let's go back to, can we go back to the classroom? Because, like, I'm
Mhm.
still in the classroom. Next year, I'll be 10 years in education. And I know that's one of the, a big thing with, like you said, a school shooting. Can we talk about that and then move into the, like you said, you admitted yourself into a mental institute?
Mental
Was
health facility. Yeah.
So let me ask that the mental health facility, was that after the school shooting and
Mhm.
after COVID
Yep,
and
you got
after
it.
having to be a stay-at-home mom? It kind
Yep,
of all
yep.
like flow.
I became a mom I didn't want to be. I was so strung out and dysregulated. I mean, I was a screaming, cursing mom, and I was like, this is not who I want to be. This is not helping anything in my family. I need to like get regulated. And yeah, did that answer your
So
question?
Yes, and I'm gonna go to the mental aspect because,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
right there. Oh my gosh, I'm a mom also, and I've had a small one, and I know how it can be like. "Ugh." So let's talk about mentally. How did Let's start with school. How did the school shooting affect you mentally?
hmm I think that it really it changes your perspective on things, right? Anytime I have a heart condition, so I kind of equate it to my heart condition where like tomorrow's never promised. And so when you go through experiences or your lived experiences are scary in that way, it changes your perspective and how you show up in the world. I currently have like no filter because tomorrow's never promised. And I've had scary enough experiences that I'm not going to hold things back anymore. I'm really just going to be present in my most authentic self because again, tomorrow's never promised. It made me realize a lot of our challenges that we're seeing in our school system. We were seeing in our school system pre-COVID, but now post-COVID, it has just become exponentially worse.
Mhm.
I always say these kids, they're in the day of overexposure. My husband's actually a police officer, and so he always says, when you see things like in his job, you can't unsee them. And I think the same thing about our kids right now. They have access to all the world's knowledge at their fingertips, and a lot of the people who are, their support group, their parents, mom, dad, aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa, brother, sister, whoever is home with them, a lot of us don't know how to help them process the trauma that is being overexposed to all the world's knowledge at your fingertips. And I think that's really impacting how we are seeing kids show up in the schools. I think that COVID was traumatic for them. And I think we're seeing a lot of trauma responses in our school system right now because of that. I think if kids haven't even been in school shootings, they are very aware. They are seeing it, they know about it, they are seeing all the things on social media about it. They are far more intelligent than we were at their age. Um, and the trauma around school shootings is real. So
Mhm.
I think we have a lot of very dysregulated kids, and a lot of adults in their worlds who can't empathize with their lived experience. Their lived experience right now is so vastly, I mean, I had AIM when I was growing up in high school. Like that is vastly different than what these teens are experiencing now. And so I think that we just need to do better and support them more in the educational process. And I know as adults, we always feel like we need to be the leaders in all of the things we're doing. But I firmly believe we need to let the kids help us guide us in this work because they have a lot of intuition and insight into what their lived experience is. And again, we can't relate. So we have to rely on them to guide us in that work and make sure that we are really doing right by them and providing them the supports that they need.
I completely agree. Completely. Like in my class, I give them the opportunity to express because I teach seventh grade. So I'm right there
Mhm,
in
mhm.
down the for those that don't know, teaching middle school is everybody say middle school is the everybody can't teach middle school. But
Nope.
with that, and allowing them to express what's going on, it helps them, with a lot of that mental and emotional that they do deal with. And a lot of times adults don't give them the opportunity to express. So, as far as you, when it came to the emotional aspect of it, because I'm just picturing the flow of from that to the next situation into the mental health facility emotionally, how were you, I want to say dealing, but how did it affect you emotionally?
I think honestly doing that work was really liberating for me. I mean, just an example, one of the things that we teach at Undo, but one of the things I also learned was the difference between guilt versus shame. And I always tell all of my friends and women and people that I surround myself with, I'm like, if you do shame work and you get rid of shame in your life, I promise you, you will feel so liberated. And I'm just going to put a plug for Brene Brown. I'm always surprised at how few people know who Brene Brown is, because to me, she is like, the utmost amazing human being in all this work. But learning about guilt versus shame and understanding how shame is very much part of how we are brought up as children. It's very much part of our school system. It's very much how we navigate the adult-child relationships in society. And so it's something that's been imposed on us. And if we can free ourselves from that shame, it's really powerful. Sometimes people, I think, hate me because they want me to feel shame and I won't. I think also because I'm an educator like you, I have so thoroughly embraced the growth mindset. It's very easy for me to transition away from shame into just guilt where it's productive and we're able to learn. But I think, going back to your question, I think that's just a one prime example of something that I did that really emotionally I felt liberated, because I didn't realize I was carrying so much weight of so many of these things that have happened in my life. And just letting it go and getting it off my shoulders has rejuvenated me and almost made me feel a lot more alive than I ever did before. So the whole process got me to a much better place in my life. And I'll tell you, I even made my husband check into the mental health facility afterwards as well, because we both come with childhood trauma and all sorts of, our own BS. But I was up here, trying the skills, speaking the language, trying to like solve our problems. And he was still down here in like trauma reactions and, elbow deep in his own crap. And so I said, you need to come up here with me and do the work or hit the road, but it was something that was a non-negotiable for me at that point. Like I felt so strong in my being and who I am. I wasn't willing to go back down here. And I actually, sorry to ramble, but I actually had a friend once last summer that I got in a fight with. It was just like a little, we're fine now, but we got in a little bickering and she was like, can you stop doing all that mental health bullshit? And I was like, no, I refuse. I am not going back to the toxic I was. You can get out of the toxic with me, but I'm not going back there.
That's I'm over here. I'm like, that's what I'm talking about I'm because like you're doing all of this work to grow and to ascend and to have your mental health better and more stable, and everybody can't handle it because everybody's not on the same level when it comes to that growth. Like when you talk
And
about growth
jealousy is a
mindset,
monster.
yes,
Jealousy is a monster.
it is. And then sometimes they just don't understand the next level that you're at. And it's like you
Mm-hmm.
said, you can come with me and get out of this toxicity, or
Mm-hmm.
you could stay in it, but I'm not going back. Oh, I'm
Yep.
over here like, yes,
100%.
I'm not going back. And you mentioned that, you told you asked your husband, hey, well, you need to do this also. And how you came out feeling so much stronger. And a lot of times, like you may, and I'm assuming because it's something I do, I walk around, I'm like, well, I really don't care what you think. I'm not doing anything to hurt you, but you want me to care that you don't like me. I'm like, I don't. But
You
and it's
can only control what you can control, right?
exactly. And
Mm-hmm.
so let me ask you this, because socially, I'm hearing you, like you have a husband, you have a child, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you were going through these mental and emotional situations. How did all of that affect you socially? Like you still, like you say, you have friends and things like that, but did it cause a rift? Like what did you end up having to do?
No, not necessarily. I think in some ways it's helped me I'm very forthcoming about all of my challenges. I think we need to destigmatize the human experience and we need to just lay our crap out there so that we can stop feeling shame, because we keep so much in. We make ourselves feel shame in a lot of ways. So I've been very outward, and through my nonprofit work as well. But my husband, being a police officer in the town we work in, he's actually the mental health guy for the department. We through this process, we've kind of established ourselves sort of as a community resource, place for people to come to be vulnerable. A lot of people share their inner, deepest, darkest secrets with me because they know I'm not going to judge, because I'll be the first to tell you all the crap I've gone through, because I don't think that the crap I've gone through is outside the scope of anybody else's crap. Why we're all shameful about it, I don't understand. Again, going back to feeling liberated, it's really liberating to not allow the crap that you go through that is all very human to weigh you down. I don't know. Did I answer your question? What was your original question?
No, you answered it because you were like, no, it really didn't affect you socially because
I think
you
if
were.
anything, it garnered more, like, more people are like drawn to this. I think we see the need, but sometimes we don't know like what's the roadmap to get there. And so I
Mhm,
think people are kind of attracted to talking to me about these things because um, they they've seen the journey and they want to follow the journey.
mhm. And I do want to ask. I want to ask, how long were you? Was it like a? And I'm talking about the mental health facility because it
Hmm.
sounds like that's what really caused you to be able to
Hmm.
come out and come through. Because that's usually my next question. Like, what is it that you did to come out of
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
But how long were you there?
Yeah, yeah. The program itself, so the first time I did outpatient only, the second time I actually checked myself in. And so I spent 4 days inpatient. And then the rest of the time, I did intensive outpatient where it was every day for 5 days a week, where I think, God, I don't know, maybe we were going from 9 to 2 or something like that. And then the following weeks, it was really just like 9 hours a week of support. I think in total, it was probably 6 weeks that I was doing all of this work. But again, I did it twice. So a lot of time. Um, there you are. Um, there was something else I was going to add to that, and now my brain is skipping on it. Oh, the other thing too is that the work that we did and the work that we are putting out into the world is very different than what I think a lot of people imagine when they think of mental health work. I think we have talk therapy, which is really beneficial. I've been in talk therapy since I was like 13 or so. Um, have you ever seen Jonah Hill's? And I know Jonah Hill's canceled, but have you ever seen his Netflix series or whatever documentary called Dr. Stutz or Stutz?
I haven't seen it, but I have heard about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting other than Jonah Hill, but he brings his therapist, Dr. Stutz, and Dr. Stutz in his earlier years said that he recognized that a lot of people who they guide therapists and tell them and teach them and train them to guide their patients through questions. And over time, eventually your patients, they say, will get to an answer. And Dr. Stutz recognized that people need more answers quicker. They need fast solutions. So he developed these little like drawing things to help people do that. The work that I learned in the mental health facility and the work that we do at Undo is very similar in that it's like tangible, quick solutions. It is like very quickly understanding what anger is and how it presents itself in your life so that you can recognize it and move away from it in the future versus it being like talk therapy and getting to a solution on your own. So I honestly suggest all of my friends and everybody I know go to a mental health facility because you get so many answers. Like you get tangible skills that are quick and easy and like something you can actually work towards versus being more vague and ambiguous.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, exactly. Because, like you said, like with talk therapy, you are going through all of the process, but you're talking more and you're getting less of a result faster. But with
Hmm.
the mental health, they're giving you ways and coping skills and things that you
Hmm.
can do right away in order to come through. So, I
Hmm.
do want to ask you this: if there's anyone out there that's going through some of the same situations, whether it be, in not just educators, but anyone
Hmm.
out there with motherhood and childbearing and being a wife and all of the traumas that come with
Hmm.
childhood trauma and all those things. What would your advice be to someone who is going through similar type of situations right now?
I would say, give yourself grace, understanding our own human experience and understanding that you are not going through anything that is new and that nobody else has gone through before. I have people who come and talk to me about things thinking, they feel, again, going back to shame, they feel so much shame about it. And because I gather so many stories from so many people who come to me, it's easy for me to say, like, oh, I know like 20 other people who have gone through that exact same thing. Can I connect you to those people or whatever? And you can see the stress just melt when they recognize and realize I am not the sole person who has gone through this. Again, I don't think there's a single experience that anybody has gone through that another human hasn't gone through. I also think that we need to like recognize trauma as part of the human experience, and the human experience can be pretty uncomfortable because of it. And I don't think anybody really is fully 100% enjoying this ride. And what we need to be doing is finding sort of a love-hate relationship with that roller coaster and embracing the ups and downs. And I think giving ourselves grace is the best way to really help us navigate those roller coasters.
I love how you said that, find a way of enjoying those ups and downs on this roller
Mhm.
coaster, because life is a roller coaster. And most
Mhm.
definitely, you're going to have some ups and downs, and knowing how to handle those ups and downs, most definitely. And I love that you said that. And if someone wants to connect with you, or like you said, you have a, talk about your program that you have for people.
Yeah. So I'm an educator. So again, my goal is always to get into K-12s free of charge. We want to make sure it's a computer-based program, because accessibility is equitability. If we don't have a computer-based program, we're relying on school-based personnel to meet the mental health needs of our kids. And there's usually just a couple of them in a school. And teachers were not necessarily trained on all the things mental health. We wear the hat of a therapist, but we're not actually licensed therapists. So we want to take that hat off the teachers. And we want to make sure that every kid is able to have moments of this learning every week, all the time, all week, all school year. So that's my end goal. But with that being said, we also do recognize that just about anybody else who has a brain could benefit from this work. So we have a junior board, which is our middle schoolers, high schoolers, and college age kiddos. We're about a team of 70. So I'm going to tell you a lot of initiatives we're working on. But our junior board, they're working through a system right now on how to get our curriculum out to transient folks, getting together like transient kits with toothbrushes and toothpastes and all that stuff with our QR code. And sorry, my daughter is here. I'm in the middle of a podcast being, I love you. Bye. Um, putting together QR codes to put on these kits. So when we give out the kits, they have access to our curriculum. We have a group that is getting together, pre and postpartum mom and dad group, so that we can support, because anybody who has gone through the parenting journey knows that your world is rocked real hard as soon as that baby enters the world. And usually your dynamics with that partner can be pretty challenging as well as you navigate those rocky waters. So we want to make sure that our curriculum is a support system for folks in that stage of their lives. Our junior board is also looking to help and reach out to seniors in senior homes and help them navigate their mental health journey. We have a M.E.S.S group. It's an acronym, stands for male emotional needs. And that's really like helping us to break those stigmas. I always say telling dudes and boys for generation after generations to not be sissies and whatever else was probably the most inhumane thing we could have done as a society. We have a lot of dudes who are defaulting to anger and have no
Mm.
idea about their broader emotional spectrum. And we want to make sure that we're helping to change that narrative. We have, what else? I don't even know what I said versus what we still have. We basically, I'm reaching out to my son's dance teacher because we want to get into dance schools. We want to be accessible to literally corporate offices, to sports groups, to religious organizations, to Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, to any group of people. We want to make sure that we are accessible to them and giving them the work that is relevant to their lives.
That is awesome. And how can they Is there a website they can go to or?
Yes, thank you. I left that detail out. You can check us out on all the socials, Undo Mindset on all the socials. We also have our podcast, which is Undo Unplugged, and we're also on all the podcasting platforms. And I'm going to put a plug for that because we were talking to Junior Board earlier this morning, and they love joining our podcast. And I love having our Junior Board on the podcast because, again, they give us so much tangible insight into what it's like being a young person right now. And I think that insight is so incredibly eye-opening and inspiring. So I definitely suggest checking out our podcast. But you can also check us out online, www.undomindset.com, and Undo Mindset on all the socials again.
That is awesome. www.undomindset.com.
Mhm.
And for your podcast, you said Undo Unplug.
You got it. Yep.
Okay, awesome. Because I want to make sure I'm put all of this so everybody that's
Thank
listening and
you.
watching at the end and the outro, don't just click off because her information will be there with all of the different initiatives that they have going on at Undo Mindset. I'm just so excited to meet you and to connect with you because like literally this is right up my alley because mindset is my motivation to work towards getting everyone. And you said undo mindset. I was like, oh, that's good. That was good. And then the men acronym with, you know, men's emotional needs. Yes. And I talk about the not being able to cry and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yes. So everyone out there that's listening, especially if you know that you want to do better and you want to have a better mindset and you want to reset your mindset,
Mm-hmm.
undo mindset sounds like a place that you might want to tap into and see what all they have to offer you. So your last words of encouragement for the audience.
Oh my goodness. My last words of encouragement would be to talk to yourself. Remember that you are with yourself for eternity. You are the center of your world. And while we never want to be selfish, we want to be kind. We talk to ourselves meaner than we talk to our enemies. And we should be talking to ourselves nicer than we talk to anybody else on this planet. And so getting to a place where your internal dialogue is productive, is supportive, is helpful, is loving and caring, is a essential for happiness in life. And so I highly suggest rewriting the narrative in your own brain, changing how you've been hardwired. Maybe parents have maybe projected on you and given you that internal dialogue. Process that, explore that, think about like, is this actually how I feel about myself, or is this something that people have projected onto me? Really try to figure out how to build a better relationship with yourself because you will feel very liberated. And again, you are with yourself. We are in our brains 24/7. We are stuck with ourselves. And anything that doesn't serve us well, thoughts that don't serve us well, we need to get rid of those. They're just noise, right? Calling myself mean names doesn't help me. It's not motivating. It doesn't serve any purpose. It is literally just noise. So that is my last thought and my last advice for anybody listening is be your best friend, be kind to yourself, change how you're talking to yourself, handle your problems like you would help a friend, and just be more supportive to your own self.
I love it. I love it. Oh, those were some amazing last words. Be kind to yourself because you are going to be with yourself for eternity.
Eternity,
Oh
whether you
my
like it or
gosh.
not.
Never thought about it like that. It's like, wow, you got to be with you for the rest of your life. So you might as well be nice to yourself because you got to be
Mhm.
with you.
Yep.
Nope. Love it. That's going to be a promo, just so you know.
Yeah.
So, and as we wrap up this episode, first, I want to thank you. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your words of wisdom and encouragement. It was much, much appreciated.
Thank you, Tracey, for having me on the show.
No problem. And as we wrap up another episode of What's Your Mess, I just want to leave you all with a simple quote. If you want to stay sad, keep thinking about the past. If you want to be anxious and worried, keep thinking about the future. But if you want to be happy, focus on the present and be grateful for the things that you do have. This is Tracey D. Armstrong. Have a good one, y'all.
Yes, that quote.